Is it possible to create an engaging online church experience using only the things I can find here in this office? My name's Christian, I'm part of the team here at MultiTracks.com, and like many of you, this week I find myself in isolation, facing the challenge of doing church online with limited gear and a limited budget. So I set myself this challenge: can I connect things together that I can find in this office to create that stream? And this is what I wanted to achieve. I wanted to deliver a time of worship using tracks with a clicking guide in my ear. I wanted to use Pro Presenter or a lyric software to overlay lyrics on the bottom lower third of my screen and have them automated. I wanted to use multiple cameras, and I wanted to bring my pastor in on a Skype call so that he could deliver the message element of the service. Oh, and I wanted to do all of this for free using just the gear here in the office. So all I'm using is a camera, I'm using a webcam, I'm using an iPhone, I'm using a computer and a good old-fashioned iPhone cable. All of the software I'm going to use is either free or in a 14-day free trial, or is freeware software downloaded from the internet. So let's jump in together and see if we can creatively connect things to deliver that online church experience. So before I show you how to configure this, I want to give you a taste of some of the possibilities. So this is me now recording a live stream. And as I start praying or playing my guitar or talking to people, I fade in the ambient pad from playback. And the clicking guide is routed to my in-ears so that I can play along and I can monitor. But the audio is also routed to the live stream. Well, maybe now I'm ready to do the first song, so I either double tap the iPad or I use a foot controller, and I blend between that ambient pad and into See a Victory. Now See a Victory starts, and the great thing about this is the MIDI notes are going to bring up the lyrics just as I need them. So as I hit this first verse now, the lyrics are going to come up on screen. But I can go one stage beyond this. Maybe I also have playback send camera changes using MIDI notes. So at this point of the song, I can jump over to this camera using just the MIDI note from playback, causing it to jump over. Or maybe it jumps to this camera over here, zoomed in on my guitar, or whatever it might be. So you get the idea that using MIDI notes allows me to jump around to different cameras just by sending the MIDI notes along the timeline, with the lyrics also always in time for me to deliver this one-man experience. And when it's time for the pastor to come up on stage, then maybe we do something clever and we bring in a Skype call into the feed and we put his screen on our stream so that he can address our church as well. And let's have a look at how this is all possible together. So the first thing we're going to configure is playback from MultiTracks.com. This is the iOS multi-track app that allows me to playback pads and multi-tracks for use in live worship. And I'm going to lean into this to be the production hub for my live stream. So I could use Intro, which is the free version of this. To do the MIDI, I'm going to need Cloud, and I can use a 30-day free trial for that as well. And I'm even going to download the guitar pad, which is free. Now the guitar pad in A is going to fill out the sonic textures and be the glue that I can play my guitar on top of, read a Bible verse, etc. The other song that I'm going to work with today is See a Victory, from when Elevation came into our studios to do a custom session, because it's got that really nice kind of stripped acoustic-y type vibe that I want to have for my live stream. So I'm going to take an iPhone cable, which is just a Lightning to USB cable, plug one end into my MacBook and the other end into my iPhone. Now if I go to Audio Setup, and this is this device, it's found in Programmed Utilities, Audio MIDI Setup, and navigate to Audio Devices, and if you can't see that, go Window, Show Audio Devices. I've got all of the available audio interfaces and devices that my MacBook can see. And at the very bottom, there's one that says iPad. And if I click Enable, what happens is it now registers this as an audio interface, and it pops up both in playback and on the computer, and it now gives me the ability to send audio from playback straight to the MacBook, and even better, I can use this as a MIDI interface too. So let's go back into playback a moment and go to settings, and I'm going to want to go and turn on auto pan and make sure that my buses are going clicking guide to 1 and everything else going to 2. That's exactly what I want. Then I'm going to go to MIDI, and for lyrics and auxiliary 1, I'm going to set these to the IDAM MIDI host, which is down the Ethernet cable, down the Lightning cable. And if I click on this one, you can see I've got these options here. And the reason I'm doing lyrics is for automating Pro Presenter. And the reason I'm doing auxiliary 1 is later on I'm going to automate camera changes as well. So that's playback set up and ready to go. Now let's jump over to Pro Presenter and make some changes there too. So here I am in Pro Presenter 7. You can do the same in Pro Presenter 6 as well. And you can get a 14-day free trial of this software. So even if you don't have Pro Presenter, you can get yourself through the next couple of weeks by doing this. And the guys at Pro Presenter have very kindly said if you contact support, they will move licenses around computers for you. So if you have a computer with a Pro Presenter license, but you can't get to it, contact support and they will relocate that license to cover yours in your office. So what I've done first is I've taken C Victory and I've added the template that I've created, which gives me these lower third looks. So I've got my lyrics spaced out purely on lower thirds, and I'm really happy with the way they look. And the slide numbers match the MIDI file that I created and uploaded to my MultiTracks.com cloud account. That's quite important as well. So now I need to configure the send that's going to go to our streaming software. So I'm going to come over to Pro Presenter Preferences and go to Screens, Configure Screen option, or I could go to Screens and Configure Screens, both pop up the same window. And you'll see this is the normal audience feed that I use in church. And I've created this second feed here. And the way I did that was go to Audience and I clicked on the plus sign and I came down to New Siphon. I'm using a Mac, so I'm sending these lyrics using the Mac Siphon language to my streaming software. If you're using Windows, you could use NDI. You can also use NDI in a Mac, but I found it wasn't quite as stable in OBS, which I'm going to introduce you to in a moment. But if you wanted to create a new feed, you simply come along here and select the resolution you want. So let's do 1080. And you're going to see that this creates this new output. Now, if you're using NDI, go to Alpha key and click Enable. If you're using Siphon, you don't need to do that. We're going to do that inside OBS in a moment. But make sure that the resolution is correct and make sure that that's ready to go. So now when we go to our streaming software, it's going to be able to pick up either of these two screens. That's pretty much all we need to do in Pro Presenter, other than make sure that it's ready to receive the MIDI. If you've never done this before, we've got other tutorials, but basically we're going to go over to devices. We're going to create a new device by clicking the plus sign down here, and we're going to add MIDI. This is then going to give us a MIDI box that looks like this. Inside the settings, I'm going to tell it to look out for iPad, because that's now the new MIDI device that we created in the previous chapter of this video, and it's going to send MIDI straight to Pro Presenter. I'm going to click MIDI map, and I'm going to click a 0 or enter a 0 in autofill, press autofill, and it's going to create all of the MIDI notes to match the language, which I've already sent over. I'm then going to come back and make sure that that MIDI is connected and ready to receive MIDI from playback into Pro Presenter. And if I wanted to test that, I could simply press play on my playback device. And as I press play on my playback device, all the MIDI notes should now automate this through. So there we go. I'm going to start automating when I get to the end of this first section here. And as we get to this next section, you can't hear this audio because it's going to the stream, but it's now going to jump to the second slide, which is the first set of lyrics, and so on. So that's working, ready to go. So now we can jump over to our streaming software to get that set up. So this is OBS, and this is the final piece of the jigsaw. This is where it all starts to come together. In OBS, we can use the auto connection or auto configuration wizard to set up our streaming solution so that what comes out of here will land at Facebook Live or at Restream.io or YouTube or wherever you choose to stream it for. And on this side, we can start streaming, start recording to record it and put it up later, and a few other settings. But we're mainly going to look at pulling everything together in this video. So first thing is we're going to go to Preferences, go to Video, and make sure that our canvas, our base canvas, is the same as the one that we set up in Pro Presenter. We want everything to match on resolution. I'm just doing 1080 on this one because that's sufficient for the stream that I'm planning, and it keeps it nice and small in terms of its stream and upload. Now, the way OBS works is we have a series of scenes, and inside of each scene we have a series of sources. So let's create a new scene. Let's go plus, and let's just call this new demo. And I'm going to press OK. Now, I've got no sources available inside the demo at the moment, and I'm going to click on the plus, and I'm going to select my audio input or my video input or whatever source I want to do. Now, I'm going to show you how to do this, but to save time, I'm going to make all of these presets and every preset that I've created so far in this video available for free to download. You simply go to multitracks.com/streaming, enter your email address, and we'll send you all of these resources for free for you to use. But if you are just watching the video and you want to get a jump start, you can click on audio capture device, click on new, call this, again, I'm going to call this test, give it any name you want. And now you can pull in all of the devices that are connected to your computer and set them up as a scene. So I may decide to use my webcam and pull my webcam into my stream, or it could be my FaceTime camera or anything else. Click OK, and that will create that as a source inside that scene. I'm going to delete this one for a moment. Now, these are the ones I've got set up already. I've got my Siphon client. So my Siphon client here is the words which are coming from ProPresenter. So I clicked New Siphon Client, and I went there and I selected my ProPresenter stream, and I turned on Allow Transparency. And that allowed me to send my words from ProPresenter. If you're doing it via NDI, you would go New, you would go NDI Source, and you would select your NDI source in exactly the same way as I've done for Siphon. Now, I do find that NDI in Catalina is a little bit glitchy, and that's why I chose to do Siphon Client. I've got a playback. Now, the way I did this was, again, I created a new audio capture device, and let me just show you, audio input device, and I selected it. Let's give a new one for the moment, and I called it iPad, and now I'm pulling in the audio from the iPad. I actually created two of these, and I went over here and I clicked on a gear icon and went to Advanced Audio Properties, and I called one Click and Guide, and I called one Tracks, and I hard panned one left and hard panned one right, and I clicked Sum to Mono. So now I've got the Click and Guide and the tracks arriving in my stream. But on the Click and Guide, I changed this one here and set this one to be monitor only. So this means when I put my headphones on, I'll hear the Click and Guide in my headphones, but it will not go to the stream. The tracks will go to my headphones and to the stream, and my microphone, I happen to have a USB microphone, you could use any other. I set a little bit of latency delay, and I've got that going to both places as well. You can play around with those settings to get that nice and efficient for you. So let me just take that one off a moment, and I've added these two in the demo, so I'm going to take these off for the second. Okay, then I created different scenes, and in the scenes I added the same here. So I had the playback and the Siphon client, but I added different cameras. So in scene 1, I've got my webcam sat on top of my monitor with my lyrics overlaid. Scene number 3 is my FaceTime camera that's sat over here, and my other one is my Lumix camera, which is obviously a nicer, higher quality camera that I probably use for the feed, but I've got the option of moving around between any of them. And finally, I've got a sermon feed, and the sermon is an NDI source that's simply pulling in Skype calls. Now, let me show you how to do that quickly. If I was to open up Skype and go to Skype Preferences, go to Calling, and go to Advanced, there's a button in here that allows me to allow an NDI usage. And if I do this, what it will do is it will pull in the NDI source, and I can select that. So for example, I can have my pastor on a Skype call before I go live, and at the appropriate moment I can switch to this scene, and his face and his audio, or her face and her audio, could be on this screen ready to stream into our live stream, even though they're not physically in the same room. Okay, the last thing that we can do here is we can go to OBS Preferences, go to the hotkeys window, and we can allocate a hotkey to each of these scenes. So my FaceTime camera is on hotkey 4, my Lumix camera is on 3, my stream is on 5, scene is on 1. That means that just by touching the button on my keyboard, I can select which scene it's going to go to. So if I want it to go to 3, I press the button, it jumps to 3, 2 to 2, 1 to 1, maybe 4 to 4, whatever it might be, and I can jump around these cameras by using these hotkeys. Now we can take this one stage further if we want to by using a piece of software such as MIDI Stroke. So let me show you MIDI Stroke. Now, MIDI Stroke is this piece of software here. It is on top of Skype, sorry. And MIDI Stroke allows us to take MIDI notes and convert them to keystrokes. So I've put in 5 MIDI notes here, and I've said whenever you see this MIDI note, go to keystroke 1. Whenever you see this MIDI note, go to keystroke 2, and so on. That means that inside my feed, I could have MIDI notes in playback automatically jumping between my different cameras. So let me show you that in real time. Let's start, I see a victory, and maybe see a victory starts off with this camera zoomed in on my guitar, for example. Now as it progresses and we get towards verse 1, let's just wait for it to get towards verse 1, it's going to hit a MIDI note inside playback, and as the lyrics come on screen, it's also going to fade to this camera ready for me to sing. Maybe a few bars in later, it's going to trigger off another MIDI note and it's going to jump to this camera, and so on. And you can get the idea now that we can jump around within these different settings, and we're going to have playback sending MIDI notes automatically moving us to the camera that we want, and automating our lyrics and sending our tracks to our stream. Now finally, I put my headphones on, I grab my guitar, I grab a microphone if I've got one, or my webcam microphone or whatever it might be, and I can start creating this experience. Now, there's a few things we could do to go a little bit further. We could add an audio interface like the Play Audio 12 to send a few more levels to mix. I could plug my guitar into an audio interface, but I wanted to show how I could do this using hardly any gear and doing it in a really simple format. So hopefully this gives you a few ideas. And then simply I click start streaming or start recording when I'm ready to go, and I can take the collection of all of these tools and put them into the online stream. Steve Jobs once famously said that creativity is just connecting things, and I hope that this video goes some way towards challenging that sense of creativity in you. Maybe you can connect different solutions together so that you can still bring your message of hope to your congregation in this challenging time. Please don't let tech or financial limitations be a barrier for you putting your voice out there. Maybe like me, you have a really high sense of production in everything that you do, but maybe at a time like this, it's more important your church hear your voice than hear your voice well polished. Maybe it's more important that they hear your message of hope than see a high level performance. Everything you saw in this video is available to get hold of for free. Everything from playback in its free version of intro, right through to the ambient pad that you heard. Pro Presenter, you can use the 14-day free trial, and even OBS is a freeware software, and you can connect all of these together so that you can take your service online into this digital world. I would really strongly encourage you to go to multitracks.com/streaming, where you can register for free helpful guides, more videos like this, and all of the free resources in today's webinar. Our incredible partners have granted a gratis temporary license to enable you to take your original MultiTracks and use them in your streams too. And depending on where you are in the world, you will need some form of streaming license to cover you for the performance of the song as well. So go to multitracks.com/streaming to stay up to date with all of this information. Take care and God bless.